Hey everybody, hope you're having a great Wednesday night. We're talking about Tropical Storm Erin, which is still a tropical storm at this point. Should be a hurricane maybe in the next 24 hours or more. And you can see the map right here. We're talking right in the middle here. So it's had this lazy run off the coast of Africa, a little bit of a northward turn, then it's been straight west since then. And again, the plan for the most part is this to be a fish storm, as we call it. A storm that mainly stays out over open water without making landfall in the U.S. But a little change in the latest European model. I'll show you that in a second. We'll see what we can think about that. Here's a look at the latest track, and what we see is, again, the tropical storm icons here, and then notice somewhere Thursday night late into Friday, so again, maybe tomorrow night, could become a Cat 1 hurricane, and then by Saturday up to a Category 2, then a Category 3. And remember, the Saffir-Simpson scale goes to 5. So once you get to a 3, it's considered a major hurricane. Now notice this takes us into Monday of next week. So again, a long way to go. And it does look to start taking that northwestward turn before eventually a northward turn and then back toward the northeast, if we put it back over the northern Atlantic. So let's take a look at the GFS model group, and you see pretty good agreement until you get on out toward the weekend here, and notice how things start spreading apart. You're going to see this. You're always going to see discrepancies in there, but the general motion is right through here, kind of around Bermuda. Yeah, you see an outlier over here through the Bahamas, maybe off the coast of Florida. Most of them want to keep it offshore. Now, again, remember, with a tropical system, you're going to have the clean side of the storm and the dirty side of the storm. So let's say it did come over here, spinning counterclockwise like this. The dirty side of the storm is over here, where you'd have these outer bands with thunderstorms like this. The other side, generally, it's subsident, so you're going to have drier air on this side. So even if it did come close to, let's say, the outer banks of North Carolina, it would mainly be an offshore wind event. Now, this is still days away trying to figure this out. But I'm just trying to say, at this point, what is worst case scenario? And any of those so far do not involve us. Let's go forward to the European model group. And it's going to show a similar scenario, with the exception being that it does want to hang out west a little longer. And that gets into what I was just drawing there. The GFS, again, if you remember, kind of curves up more like this, and there's Bermuda right here, and then back out. Notice how the Euro kind of wants to do this. So again, that would put it more kind of somewhere out here spinning, where a wind event, at least for the outer banks of the Carolinas, North Carolina there, and again for us, no impact if that's the case. So you'll see it here when I look at the long-range models, the separation. All right, so this is the GFS model here. It's green, but you can see where it shows heavier rain in here. Underneath in this blue is the European model. And notice they start the same, but watch how they start to spread apart as we go forward. This is Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, right there. And actually the GFS has jogged a little bit more toward the west. So this is where it's kind of interesting that if the Euro continues like that, it could be something that clips the outer banks, where the GFS mainly just wants to stay out, the American model. At any rate, if any of these are right, we have no impact here. So again, this is mainly the reason I'm covering it, the reason we're talking about it, is because where we live, any tropical system is a talker. So, you know, we want to talk about it, hear about it, let's follow it and see what happens. Obviously, we've had our fair share of events with Helene, of course, last year being the most recent. So we really keep an eye on these, but just to know that, you know, the GFS or the European or the American model is here farther east. Closer toward the U.S. is the Euro, but notice it's still, the forecast would still be a turn at some point like this. And again, the difference is that the GFS makes that turn a little sooner and then starts to go back toward the northeast. All right, so let's go back to the beginning again in case you're just joining us. Tropical Storm Erin, which will be Tropical Storm Erin until maybe tomorrow night into early Friday. And there's a storm there, and you can see the historical path. So this is where it's come from. And then it still has, obviously, a long way to go. So let's go forward. And again, at some point late tomorrow night into Friday, a tropical storm becomes a hurricane. That's when you go from the tropical storm symbol to a 1. So that's a Category 1, a 2 sometimes Saturday, Sunday into Monday, a Cat 3. We'll see if it goes any higher than that. So far, the National Hurricane Center has not made it a bigger storm than that. It continues with a 3 each day. Like tomorrow when we look at this, it'll have Tuesday's timestamp on it. And then, of course, the question is, does it continue to follow the Hurricane Center track, which would be kind of like the GFS here? And again, the Euro is a little more kind of out here, or does it kind of split the difference of the two? We'll have to see. And again, the reason I say that is because the GFS, this group has been somewhat consistent with what we were looking at for the past couple of days. Again, you do have some outliers there toward the west, closer toward the U.S., some that want to turn it even sooner and keep it out of the Atlantic. There's Bermuda right here. So again, the general idea, though, is somewhere in here, which would be a non-impact for the U.S. Let's go for that Euro again. And you see a little more separation here. So there are a lot more options. You do have some that start that turn more like kind of toward the GFS, but then some that do want to go out a little farther. Even if it, say, it went this far out, if it's a Cat 3 storm, depending on the size, and if it were sitting here, again, we're on the subsident side. In other words, it's pulling dry air down on this side. So this is the clean side of the storm. There's not much of an effect other than wind, and there's usually a sharp cutoff right around in here where the rain just stops. Obviously, in the eye of the storm, that would be a problem there. And then the outer bands on the outside like this. That's the dirty side of the storm, which, if it, whatever it does, that part looks to be mainly out over the ocean. So let's put it all together again and look at it on the stacked models here, the comparison. GFS in green with that brighter color showing you where heavy rain. The color table I have set up just shows up. We're like, oh, okay, this is going to be, basically you can see the dirty side of the storm with the eye being like here. This is the Euro in blue. And notice this starts Saturday morning, so it doesn't start from tonight. This is an extended long-range view. Eventually, as this gets closer, we can start seeing it more on the graph model. But we're just not close enough for it to get in on that one yet because it's too far out of radar range. So, again, notice kind of in lockstep, the Euro starts to pull away in blue underneath there, and then they separate here. So if you kind of follow that with your eye, it's like the Euro is suggesting something like this. And the GFS is a little bit more like this. Again, either way, for us, it would be, at this point, unless something changes, it would be a non-event. So something to watch, obviously. We can drag it back. You can see they're kind of together, passing Puerto Rico as we go Saturday into Sunday. And then after that, the Euro says, I'll start heading a little more toward the U.S. But then it does start that turn. You see right there? Turn toward the north. So we'll see which one's right, obviously, as we get closer on in. And we'll have a much better look. Unfortunately, it's not. It's going to be the weekend into Monday before we have a really good look. Because this is a week from now, and it's just now starting to get close enough to a conversation with the U.S. So we'll be looking at it from this vantage point with these models until we get into the weekend at least. And then we can start looking at some short-range models and these long-range and see if we can get a better idea. But the Hurricane Center track has been fairly consistent over the past couple of days. The models are pretty consistent. We haven't seen a huge deviation one way or the other from the actual track from the Hurricane Center, which is what this is right here. Okay, so we'll continue to follow it And I will have updates on Air Online, on the Plus channel, everywhere. So thanks for joining us. We'll talk later.
Thanks so much for staying with us. This midday hour has become honestly my favorite because it's when we finally get to see a break in that cloud cover and see some true blue skies over these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, downtown Macon was really dreary all throughout the morning. It finally took around the 10 o'clock hour to see some sunshine. So as you mentioned, yes, midday is around that time where we could see the sun. But I'd say we're going to have a higher chance of rain and storms for later this afternoon and evening. Right now we have a band from a nearby system that is heading our way, and that could produce some widespread weather for later today. Looking at Warner Robins, the current number is 89 degrees, feels like 98 degrees, so it's scorching hot as of right now, especially in Warner Robins. Satellite radar is mainly dry for most spots here in central Georgia, but as I mentioned, here's this band that is moving through Columbus, and I think that'll clip some of our western counties in the next couple of hours, and that could also provide some widespread weather in the next couple of hours. It's associated with this system that's actually moving through South Alabama at the current moment, and I think the center of the system will move through our area later tonight as well, and that could produce some overnight showers. The temperatures right now show mid to upper 80s, but if we factor in the high humidity, we have feels like temperatures already in the triple digits in some spots. Gordon, 103 degrees, 102 in Sandersville, 100 degrees in Unadilla, and 103 degrees in Cordele. So I'd say a lot more places here in central Georgia could be within that triple digit club in terms of feels like temperatures. Today, scattered showers and storms, potentially widespread stuff for our western counties for later this afternoon and evening. And the afternoon high should be into the lower 90s. But once again, feels like temperatures could be well over that value. So in the next coming hours, that band that you saw on the satellite radar, that's going to enter our most western counties, potentially producing widespread weather, so rain and storms. Thankfully, none of the storms are expected to be strong in nature. Then the center of the low is expected to arrive later tonight, and that's going to provide some overnight showers. Some of these overnight showers could linger into the early morning, so potentially could affect your morning commute, but this model run really doesn't show much. So I'd say bring an umbrella just in case. Tomorrow afternoon, it's looking mainly dry. Can't rule out an isolated shower or two, but the rain chances for tomorrow are way lower than what we're expecting for later this afternoon and evening. Once we get into Friday, classic summertime pattern, hit or miss shower or storm. Could see a couple of outflow boundaries, but right now the models are showing that it's going to be a mainly dry late night, which will not impact any of the games for football Friday night, which is a good thing. Hopefully it stays like this. Tropical Storm Erin, it is moving through the Atlantic. It's expected to be a hurricane by tomorrow night or Friday early morning, but we are expecting this to make a northward curve and miss all of the continental United States. Here's a look at the 7-day forecast. High rain chances later today, lower rain chances tomorrow, and we're sticking with the summertime pattern for the next 7 days.